Julio Rodriguez is off to a blistering start in 2023. The 2022 AL Rookie of the Year is hitting 286, 342, 571 with a 155 OPS plus with 2 home runs and 3 stolen bases. Now, this is being recorded before the second game against the Cleveland Guardians over in Cleveland, so Julio may have added on to this by now. But Julio Rodriguez has one secret thing working for him, one thing that some other players do not have, and that's going to help him throughout the rest of his career. Also, if you're going to any Mariners games in the coming weeks, be sure to stick around to the end of this video and I will tell you about how you can save some money by doing that. Just looking at Julio's percentiles in 2023, you can see how good they already are. Obviously his sprint speed, we know Julio is fast. His outs above average are in the 66th percentile. He is chasing a little bit and his K percentage has to show for that. He's in the 23rd percentile for K percentage, 13th for chase rate, and 34th for whiff percentage. But his barrel percentage, when Julio's hitting the ball, he's hitting the ball hard. Overall, I do expect these numbers to go up a little bit, especially as the summer kind of goes along and it gets a little bit warmer. In 2022, yeah, Julio was just freaking incredible. Look at the max exit velocity, average exit velocity, how often he was hitting the ball hard, his barrel percentage. Julio's one of those players where when he's up to bat, you kind of take a second, sit back, and just watch how good this kid is. At just the age of 22, Julio Rodriguez has really thrown himself into stardom in Major League Baseball. We've talked before about how he could be the face of baseball here in the next coming years, and honestly, he might already be the face of baseball. And for the Mariners, it was much needed. They needed one of these young guys to kind of come out and pop for them. But this isn't the first time in their history that this has happened. Obviously, the parallels between Julio Rodriguez and Ken Griffey Jr. have been talked about time and time again. And for Julio, he has the benefit of learning from somebody like Ken Griffey Jr., either at the WBC, obviously we're on the same team, either at the WBC or down in spring training or even at the ballpark day in and day out. If Griffey's in town, I guarantee that Julio is the first person he wants to talk to. And overall, I think that is the secret thing that Julio probably has over other players. Julio has the likes of Ichiro Suzuki, Ken Griffey Jr., Edgar Martinez, and the like coming up to him all the time in Seattle because these guys are still around the ballpark. Hell, Ichiro is in full uniform before every single game. Now don't get me wrong, there are star players for other teams that get to talk to some of the legends from that team. But for example, I like to compare Julio Rodriguez to the likes of Fernando Tatis Jr. And the reason I like to do that is because both guys were so young when they made their major league debuts, and it also is kind of fitting because Sarah Langs tweeted the other day, the great Sarah Langs, she said, "Today is Julio Rodriguez's 140th career game. He just hit his 30th home run and earlier stole his 28th base. Only other players with 30 home runs and 20 plus stolen bases through 140 career games, Fernando Tatis Jr. with 37 homers and 27 stolen bags, and Darryl Strawberry with 30 homers and 24 stolen bags." Fernando began his major league career at the age of 20 in 2019. Obviously a little bit younger than Julio was, but he hit 317, 379, 590 with a 154 OPS plus, hitting 22 home runs with 53 RBI and 16 stolen bases. In the shortened season of 2020, Fernando Tatis had 257 at-bats where he hit 277, 366, 571 with a 156 OPS plus with 17 home runs and 11 stolen bases. And then in 2021, Fernando Tatis played in 130 games. He hit 282, 364, 611 with 166 OPS plus, 42 home runs, and 25 stolen bases. Both of these guys were incredible at such a young age and quickly became the face of the franchise and nearly all of baseball. But for Tatis, things have not gone quite as well, and that very well could be he just has not had that driving force in front of him. An idol to look up to from inside of the organization and those guys around him steering him in the right direction and hopefully and ideally making it so he knows how to handle the fame that he's dealing with. For those of you that don't know, Fernando Tatis Jr. has had some off the field incidents, including getting popped for PEDs, which made him miss all of the 2022 season after he had already been on the injured list by falling off of a motorcycle and breaking his wrist. Again. Overall, Fernando Tatis Jr., his off-the-field problems have really marred what could have been a great start to his major league career. And don't get me wrong, Fernando Tatis Jr. is still going to be an amazing baseball player, but he's already been moved off of shortstop for Xander Bogaerts and is going to play the outfield. And overall, he may not be viewed as the future that everyone had hoped he would have as a star of the team. But with Julio, he has the Edgar Martinez's and the Ken Griffey Jr.'s and the Ichiros who have all had this experience already. They have been through the time of being one of the greatest players in baseball, and they know how to handle the fame. I'm not going to speak for Fernando Tatis Jr. and say that the spotlight got to his head, because we just can't know. But with that being said, Julio Rodriguez seems like he has his head on his shoulders, and that could really play a big role for him. And like I said, if you are going to any Mariners games here in 2023, make sure you go into our description, scroll down, and you could use code Mariner Mojo for $20 off your first SeatGeek order by following this link. That $20 is going to be taken off your final total, and you're going to be saving some money on some tickets while also helping out the Mariner Mojo channel. Now, Fernando Tatis should be coming back at some point here in 2023. He's currently on a rehab assignment for the Padres, but Julio Rodriguez has quickly overtaken him as one of the biggest faces of baseball. And Julio himself just seems like he's a really damn good person. When you scroll through Julio's YouTube channel at JRod Show over on YouTube, you can tell that he cares about his community and his community cares about him. For example, you can see in this video when he returned home to the Dominican Republic just how excited everybody was to see him and how big of a deal he is to the Dominican Republic as a whole. Julio Rodriguez is bigger than just baseball. And then you can see Julio just out in Peoria when they were down in spring training, and he's just giving out tickets to Mariners fans. You can just see him stopping on the street, finding people wearing Mariners gear, walking up to him and giving them tickets or giving them gift cards, and just hanging out with the fans. Julio Rodriguez has already played in the Olympics, and overall, this guy is just crazy good for the Mariners and for baseball. Julio, when he was at the All-Star game, his dad surprised him, and you can just see the love in Julio's eyes to see his family make it out there. Julio is a guy with his head on his shoulders. This is a guy who has his head right, he has his priorities straight, and Julio Rodriguez is the Mariners' future. Another big part of the Mariners' future is hopefully Jarred Kelenic, and we have a video on the screen right now talking about what he did during the offseason to hopefully make him a big part of that future. Go ahead and check that one out. I appreciate you guys watching this one, and go Mariners.